Hey guys, I am so glad you are here. Behavior Strategies for Class. This is the podcast that is turning student behavior challenges into classroom success stories by helping teachers respond to challenging behavior with calm, clarity, and confidence so that every student can succeed and thrive. So, today we're going to be talking about behavior management resets. How do you reset so you are ready to start next year? I know it's a little early to be talking about it, but everything is fresh in your mind from this year. So, we want to dig in. And this is my chat with Andrew Smith, our behavior coach extraordinaire. Welcome to Behavior Strategies for Class, the show where your student behavior challenges become your classroom success stories. I'm Diane Bachman, a trauma-informed educator, a certified trauma-informed coach with over 15 years of experience working in special education. And I help teachers respond to behavior with calm, clarity, and confidence while building real connection. Each week, we're going to break down those tough moments with practical trauma-informed strategies you can use right away. You'll hear stories that remind you you're not alone. And if you're ready for a calmer classroom, stronger relationships, and behavior support that actually works, you're in the right place. Let's get started. And if you have not hit that subscribe button, please do it right now. Share this podcast, this episode with other educators that you know so we can continue to grow together. So, like I said, we're talking about June reset. And why is June the best time to reset behavior systems? Because you still remember those challenges. Those patterns are still fresh. Those power struggles that you dealt with, the wins that you saw, those routines that clicked, scripts that worked, and students who grew. Now's the time you can evaluate systems with honesty and not guilt. You have done the work. You have done your best. Now is the time to look for clarity on where you can fill in, where some gaps were, where you can improve, where you can change, what is going to be best for next year. So let's dive in with our conversation with Andrew Smith. Hey guys, welcome back. Behavior Strategies for Class. This is our monthly chat with Andrew Smith, the behavior coach extraordinaire. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, hey, hey.
And today we're going to talk about kind of resetting for the next year. I know it's like crazy town. Like, I don't even want to talk about next year, but all of your year is still fresh in your mind. I hope all of you are done with this school year or almost done. And so we're going to kind of walk through some steps that will help you evaluate and see how you can improve, where some gaps are, and some action steps to take. So, Andrew, how can we best start this process?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there with it is still fresh. Because
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I know a number of my friends when we talk about it, they come back in August, we're like, I don't know what the
Yeah,
heck we were thinking. Like, I
exactly.
might have a sticky note somewhere, couldn't tell you exactly why I wrote what it was, or
Right.
decipher some of the symbols on there, right? So while it's fresh, just write down some of those areas that um, that you feel like might need to be addressed for next year. And so if we're at the elementary level, what was the part of your day that everybody, including yourself, seemed to struggle with, or maybe you struggled with, and then you started noticing the kids struggle with. So
Yeah.
what's one area? It could be subject matter, it could be time, it could be just the sequencing of things. And I know that master schedules sometimes don't allow for some of that, but it doesn't hurt to have the evaluation of it, right? But it's fresh right now. The idea being that you're looking at it while you still have it in your mind, and then from there, you can start addressing that in a particular intentional way. And if you can write, I mean, if you work from sticky notes, then please do. But one of the best suggestions I've seen is to to write an email and have it a delayed send so that when you come back, you have what you need right then. Make sure it's legible and not some sort of like hieroglyphics like I tend to do, thinking that future Andrew is a great cryptologist and will be able to decipher all of that. But the idea being is that maybe you might have three or four on your list, but I always say let's just focus on one at a time or just one. Okay. Changing one part of your day might have a cascading effect depending on what it is and where. So pick one area that you want to focus on that you feel like could be tweaked a little bit. And like I said, with master scheduling, you may not be able to have the ability to change it through the day. Like, let's move math to the afternoon because, we have a later lunch, and so they'll be ready to go right after lunch. Those are some changes that are systemic, that are harder to have. Not that they can't happen, but that may not be an immediate change that you can affect on your own. That might be a department discussion or things like that. Um, so once you have your area identified, then what is it you want to change and what is the outcome?
Hmm.
And to be able to do some of that, you might need to tie in some data, right? So we're all about data and
Right.
being able to justify certain things. So what data do you need or will you need to know that you're being effective? And that's where some of those SMART goals and focuses can start coming in into play. When you're in secondary, this might what you're focusing on might be a departmental choice, right? So if you're a teacher working within the English department or ELA department, maybe all of you guys got together and you're going to focus on certain things like this, like what is your structure and what is the flow, transitions, however you want to do that. That might be how you guys decided that on as a team.
Hmm.
That also could be like we're seeing just no matter what, we're seeing more behaviors in writing because writing's
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
So those might be some different ways that you can start identifying areas to focus on. Because if you're a newer teacher, it might feel like you got to touch on everything or redo everything, right? And you don't know where to start. A little bit of
Yeah.
paralysis by analysis, right?
Yeah.
So that might be a helpful way of like your department doing that. But also there's other ways of like, does your MTSS team have a focus? Does your building level have a focus that can be a place to start, right?
Hmm.
Um, another another way of looking at it is that we all get evaled somehow, some way. What is some of the feedback from your eval saying? Do I need to do a little bit more with this? Do I need to integrate my targets and throughout my day more? All of those different parts of that. Like how am I approaching or how am I handling these behaviors? What is my reading competency looking like? Do I need to address that? Those are all different parts like from your own personal eval that can be stepping stones to start adjusting from there. So the idea is that you pick at least one area to
Hmm.
focus on. You might have several, but let's start with one and then start moving from defining it. What do I need? What do I want to see the change in all those parts? And then taking some different notes so that you have your beautiful ideas about why it was going wrong, and then what you
Yeah.
want to do about it. And that way, your future self will not be hating past self on on trying to
Exactly.
decipher what the hell you were talking about and when and why and how. Because that is the fog of like summer is a real thing. We know that from the kids, but we need it's real for us too.
Right.
So that'll help you guys for coming back. And it's nice as a kind of a closing of the year. I don't want to say just necessarily that it's closed off completely, but it helps you have like a little bit of finality for at least this school year. And then once you do that, then just push it away, right? You're going to marinate it on it. Teachers, all of us that work in education, I would say like push it from your mind. Don't think about it, bury it deep down inside. But we know that's not the case. That doesn't happen, right? It's going to come back up, but the other part is that you gotta, if you're bringing about some things like that you want to focus on that were hard things or troubles or just stresses through the year, you also got to honor the successes you had, right? When we're in the midst of the trenches, it's hard to see those successes, but at the end of the year, we have so much of the rah-rah that it's a little bit
Yeah,
easier for us to poke our head up out of that trench and be able to see some of that sunshine coming through. So, what are the successes that you had, right? And if you're a part of a department, celebrate your colleagues too. I mean,
exactly.
celebrate your teammates. Like, hey, look,
Yes,
I love how you did this. This was amazing. I think it went really well. And that opens that door for collaboration so that maybe that will help you in addressing your area or your problem or your stressor for next year too. How can you collaborate with colleagues is an important piece. And that's why you have things like professional learning communities,
right.
MTSS meetings, things like that, is be able to drive that collaboration so that if somebody has a success, if somebody's got the, lightning in a bottle, why not share it out? And that can
Exactly.
help you. And that feels better knowing that there's success there. And it kind of just changes the lens that we look at the past year on as well. So that little bit of reframe of how things went is important for us, not only just mentally, but also for our professional practice.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
I
celebration.
definitely agree. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like celebrating because it's very easy to get caught up in the negative and the exhaustion and the overload that we just like survived. So I think definitely celebrating each other, celebrating the little wins with our students, is super important for morale, I think, all the way around.
Absolutely. Well, and I love how you put that. So the celebrating helps you with the exhaustion, right?
Yeah.
And so there's such a push on recognizing burnout that some people equate exhaustion with burnout as the same thing, and they're not.
Hmm.
Burnout is feeling that there's nothing effective anymore and that you're not effective anymore. You're not
Right.
capable or confident. And you definitely feel that when you're exhausted. Don't get me wrong,
Yes.
but that's on a more permanent basis rather than just the exhaustion of
Of the,
something. So there's little fine details, but those little fine details matter a lot. And that
yes.
kind of bridges to my next point of then once you're marinating, once you're trying to commit at least a week or two, come on, guys, we could do at least a week or two of like just
Yeah.
recovery. Just do
Uh,
you. The very
right.
typical, very popularized self-help of treat yourself or whatever it is, right? Refill that bucket or start refilling that bucket, right? Because you need it. That's why we
Yeah.
have different vacation times and different ways
Right.
of um, approaching school time, whether you're on like a nine month schedule, 10 month or whatever, there is definitely time. Everybody gets to have some time to have some time
Right.
off, right? So commit to that. And that is hard to do, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Teachers, people, all of us that work in education, we don't like to sit idle for very long, and we sometimes we ruminate, but also we tend to like cycle back into, well, I could do this, I could do that. But it's important to take care of yourself first, because then how can you take care of others? And if you're trying
Exactly.
to pour from an empty bucket, it's not going to go very far if it goes at all. So hit that recovery. Now, once you've got a decent amount of recovery, then how could you increase your knowledge on something, right? Take that
Right.
one area. Is there a piece of that where you don't feel like you know what you're doing, or how could you then change your feeling on that through like, oh, there's a ton of webinars in the mental health land. There's a lot of the professional organizations have some professional development they offer. There's always somebody who's going to be throwing out some different things depending on your organization, like your educational association or your unions or whatnot, tend to have
Uh-huh.
some resources for that, as well as some of the different curriculums that you're using will have some summer professional development series. If your district does, might not have that too, because in our
Right.
district we're doing that more and more. But the idea being, what's one little thing that you could help with your to increase your knowledge in it? It ideally it aligns along well with your area of focus for next year, but you know what? If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Hmm.
The idea being that to fight burnout, a lot of times, if we increase our competence and our confidence, then burnout is a little bit farther away. And also, when we increase our competence and confidence, we're more likely to engage in our coping behaviors and our skills that help keep us recharged throughout the year. So, even if it's a new skill, a new hobby, that just keeps that going for you, that knowledge, that curiosity. And sometimes
Hmm.
it's nice to be able to tie something um, not unexpected back into your practices for next year. So, a couple different ways to be able to maintain that ability to treat yourself or to like refill that bucket, right?
Uh-huh.
Marinate a little bit, and then maybe once you're done marinating, pull your brain out and cook a little. Trying to keep
Exactly.
that like that whole like metaphor going.
Yeah, I mean, definitely get that girl time, get the family time, go somewhere I have friends who are like, oh no, I just leave for the day, leave, the kids at home, where their dad's home, whatever it is, getting that time to refresh, like you said, for yourself, just refuel is so important. Like I'm getting ready to go away for a few days with some friends, and it's so much fun because we can just go and enjoy ourselves and not worry about really anything. And so that is where I think we definitely refuel. But of course, it looks different for everybody. Whatever works for you and how you feel refreshed, is what's important. Uh,
Absolutely. It could be as little as just finishing a book because it doesn't feel
yeah,
like you ever get a chance to. Or the
right.
pleasure, I kind of say that tongue in cheek, literally, of like burning your tongue on coffee because you're able to drink it while it's still hot
Hot.
rather than setting it down and then having iced coffee the next
So
time you get
true.
around to it. So even those smaller pleasures that cost nothing can be those little things that help refill you. Sometimes it's the little habits and acts that fill us up more and more often than the grandiose ones or
True.
the big ones. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, summertime is amazing in Colorado, and just going out on our patio and having coffee in the morning is so nice. Like it's just a little cool, but it's still so comfy and relaxing. Like you said, it's those little things. And then to start my day off, like it's very refreshing. So yeah, I encourage you, like you said, do those little things every day if you're able to, and commit to doing that to refuel yourself. So what are some behavior intentions of change that they could do? Like, do they write out a new protocol? Do they write out new expectations? Should they create a new behavior plan? How do they come around and kind of process through those behaviors? Not only, like you said, identifying what they were, but how do we take that even further and getting some processes, plans, strategies, skills in place?
Well, yeah, that goes into that evaluation part. Um, where was there? I always think of behavior, behavioral theory has chains. One behavior led to another. We always think of them as
Right,
ABCs, right? Your antecedent,
right.
behavior, consequence.
Consequence.
Um,
Uh-huh.
in practicality, it's several different things.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking of a kiddo who had a hard time with separation, even through summer school.
Mm,
And there ended up being a link in the chain where staff would take them for a walk,
mm.
which is a great tool.
Right.
But what it did was it prolonged and it reset the period of getting back
Get
into
it.
the
Yeah.
classroom rather than let's say they went and walked for 10 minutes and then
Hmm.
she'd they'd come back and there'd be a reset of like it would take another 10 minutes after that. So we have a period of a couple different behaviors now of
Hmm.
that last 20 minutes versus
Hmm.
if there was no walk, then yes, the waiting period would be 15 minutes, but that still gives us we lose 5 to get back 5. and things.
Right.
There's different parts like that. Like how
Yeah.
what are some chains and what are some areas where maybe we need to interrupt? And sometimes paradoxically, like do I let her sit outside the classroom to then gain more later on? Do I have them do another activity that it's incompatible with the one activity, right? And we do
Right.
this quite a bit. Um, do I have you be a helper right when you come in because you love being the one to write on the board? And then that's paradoxical with being right outside the door,
Mhm.
right? It's a different intention, different reward, all of that. So there's different parts of like the eval process for that is the biggest part is define what you're seeing, right? Start boiling it down. The problem I saw to this year was this, this, and this, and it happened then for this long. So there's usually what are you seeing? When are you seeing it? How long are you seeing it? And who's affected? So four different parts are pretty basic. If you can boil it down to that, then you can start seeing about what are the different parts that come into that. And there are some that are those setting events that just happen way before us or that we have no control over,
Right.
right? Is there trauma? Is there lack of food and resources, right?
Yeah.
Is there transportation and delivery issues that we really can't affect? So we can't change those parts of the sequence, but
Hmm.
maybe when we do a delayed start or a soft start, instead of doing a hard start, or vice versa, doing a hard start versus soft,
Right.
maybe that makes that intentional change. And sometimes we're trying one thing because we don't know if a hard start or a soft start would be best. But what's the easiest to start from for you in your classroom? And what is the support that you have for that with supporting staff and faculty? So I always say let's start by defining, what are we seeing? And then in that eval process, you've already probably done that several different ways. Most of the time I tell teachers, you already know all of this. We're just writing it down. The
Right.
paperwork is catching up.
Yeah.
So, what do you need so that we can make this change? And what are you envisioning? Like, what is your end goal? And let's see if we can start putting in some different steps to interrupt from there. But that takes some of that collaboration, like I said before, being able to adjust those processes. And sometimes it's just little tweaks to your already existing
Hmm.
process. Most teachers I work with have great stuff. There's maybe
Yeah.
one tweak that's not working for that year, that kid, maybe that
Yeah.
teacher sometimes.
Right.
Um, I was thinking about this the other day, about how many schools I've worked in and with how many staff. And I've kind of worked, in Washington and Colorado and Nebraska, um, in like five different districts or 5 to 7 districts. There's only been a few, maybe even less than a handful of teachers where I've said, or I've thought that they really just don't have good stuff. Like
Yeah.
most everybody I work with has great stuff. It's
Hmm.
just, is it doing what you want it to do for
Right.
why you need it? Um, and most of the time we can make little changes, even, within the mental health world of what just the verbiage we use can be just enough to either open up conversation or limit or, close off conversation. Like, are you creating communication? Are you
Mm.
validating by saying, yeah, that's tough and say it instead of saying,
Right.
well, everything sucks, so we just got to get through it. Sounds a little different than that's tough. I don't know what we can do. How do we move through this? So
Right.
just even those simple rephrasings is enough. So I mean, we can agree on both, yeah. But one
Yeah.
elicits more conversation and collaboration versus shutting it down. So there's different tweaks like that that we can make depending on what's going on with your eval process and what the problem is. But starting it by defining it, what you're seeing, how long and when are great places to start.
Hmm.
Even if it's a curriculum issue. My readers aren't there. We got our map assessments back and it's just not as high as I thought. Well, what is the problem? Well, in their setting structures, they're not scoring as high. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing? Well, I'm seeing that we do struggle putting together some sentences with this particular scaffolding. Okay. Well, how long have we been trying to focus on this? Well, we only did it for like a week. Well, Okay, then that probably wasn't enough. Maybe we need to revisit it. So those are those different processes, even with your curriculum that you can use
Right.
and working with your curriculum instructors or coaches that can just help jumpstart all of that within that evaluation. So it's more of that evaluation tool and just applying it to the different areas that are causing the stressors or the concerns or the areas of growth that have been identified.
Yeah, that's great. And I feel like, we do that all year long, really, as well, with some of our students. Like, okay, well, this is working, but this over here is not working. So we need to pull back over here, or, what is it? Like, we had one student who struggled with that separation, like you were talking about in the morning. And, we tried bribery, all the things. And
Short-term
then we're like,
incentives. It's not bribing, it's short-term incentives.
I mean, incentives. And then we thought, okay, how about we just give them a choice? Do you want to start in our room or do you want to start in your classroom? And so every morning when we saw like he was struggling, we'd ask him. And that really helped with that transition, just kind of giving back a little bit of that control for him. And
Absolutely.
then sometimes he would walk in and he'd be fine. And other times, well, I just need a snack. And so then we'd be like, okay, well, do you want to do it, have it here or in here? Just those little choices, too, I think if you're able to, make a big difference, too. Because, some of our kids, like, they don't have any control of anything, really.
Yeah.
And so being able to be like, okay, do you want to eat here? Do you want to eat there? Do you want this snack? Do you want that snack? And then usually, like, he would transition fine and be back in his class. And then he'd be like, pushing me out the door. Like, why are you still here? I'm fine. It's like, oh, okay. All right. That's good. So I think, like you said, if you're able to evaluate even throughout the year, even though now, of course, we're talking about the end of the year, making those little tweaks, like you said, giving some choices and voice back to the student if possible is important too, to help make those transitions, those interventions, and to bring down those challenging behaviors really makes a difference too. What do you think, Andrew?
Absolutely. Any chance you can give voice and choice or
Yeah.
collaborate and get the student to help problem solve with you, I think is
Yeah.
important because that just increases buy-in. And if you have their buy-in, then things are going to go a lot easier. You may have to try 15 different things, but it's not going to feel as much as pulling teeth as if they you don't have any of their buy-in. So
Yeah, I agree. Um, And so let's see, like I have one of these notes that says create a first week behavior plan. What do you think about that? For me, I think about what are some behavior expectations
mhm.
to set those clear boundaries, like from day one. Where I see some teachers struggle is they start out strong, right? They've got this list, they're, making sure everybody knows, and then they kind of weaken just for many different reasons. And now there's really no management. Behaviors are escalating. They're calling for backup all day long. What is one way that teachers can try and be, more consistent, if you will, with their behavior expectations?
Making them visible. So, so many times, especially as we get older, that you get a pamphlet of stuff, and then it's like it's listed in a pamphlet, and then
Yeah.
who revisits that? There's probably some, but I mean, from there, then it's easier to then have things fall into the grade. So make them visible. What are your expectations? If you have 20, that's probably too many. But
Yeah.
5 to 10 would be pretty reasonable for any level, right? So make them visible and
Uh-huh.
then go through them. Maybe pick one a week. Like if you're sitting with your elementary class, there's a lot of PBIS lessons, so positive behavior
Right.
intervention supports, right? We'll have different applying some of the different PBIS lessons to different areas so that you can focus on them. So what is the respect, responsibility, and And there's usually care or kindness of some sort is are pretty common ones. So what does that look like in the
Right.
cafeteria? So there might be 1 week or one day out of that first week that you focus on that. That's the lesson for this week, right? We introduce all of them. And then Tuesday, what's this look like on the playground? What's this look like in the hallway? What's this look like? And then you have them posted in your classroom of what that looks like in
Mhm.
general, and then you apply it. And then don't be afraid to revisit them. So have
Right.
kind of an idea of like, yeah, we have our conferences probably beginning of October, so maybe right before October, because we come back. Oh, it's early. It's like first week of August or
Oh
so.
man.
Yeah, I know. Like, ooh, I don't want
Sorry.
to say that out loud because then it makes it real. Um,
Yeah.
but so by the time that we introduce those and go back, and maybe you're hitting them once a week afterwards, and this is that decision scaffolding you make of when you want to hit it very hard as far as like repetitive parts, and then keeping the maintenance going from there. By the time you get to conference time, right around that first, second week of October or so for us,
Uh-huh.
you've hit it several different times so that it's established, and then having them posted in the classroom means that you can revisit it
Yeah.
and reassess at semester time, but you can always reference them as part of like opening circles, closing circles. Um, when you're talking like upper grades of elementary, middle school, and high school, then they have that self-reference of like, dude, you know, my my one rule is this, or my two rules are this. Like they are
Right.
posted here every day. Like, how is that going to apply to you? And you can even do some creative writing prompts. You can do some check-ins through that.
Yeah.
Uh, as kids come in, like, what does this mean to you? How have you experienced, or, we had a hard class the other day. We didn't follow this one. So how are we going to do that? And it could be a quick and easy um, intro exercise to then
Right.
transition to better performance through your lessons. So there's a couple different ways, but the biggest part is I always say is like let's make them visible,
Yeah.
so that they're very transparent and having a visual cue of some sort to be able to do
Yes.
that, whether that's a mnemonic, which a lot of PBIS classrooms and places have, or if it's even just your own like butcher paper that you made, whatever works for your style and your ability, because I am not a bulletin board kind of dude. I usually get one bulletin
Canva.
board out of me a year if you're lucky. So that would be the biggest part is trying to make some sort of visual cue for that reminder, because it also helps you to be able to hold that line and those boundaries in a healthy way.
Yes. I love that. And that can also help in redirecting and just doing a nonverbal. Like you could be still teaching, walking around the room, and now you're pointing at the poster at number three, whatever it is, and you don't even have to say anything. That student or all your students know, like, oh, like this is where we need to be, and then you just keep walking and keep teaching. I have seen teachers do that, and it really does work. Now, granted, obviously, you're always going to have one student that's like, okay, whatever, and they still continue. And then you can verbally redirect or whatever it is you need to do for that student. But I love being able to have, the visual of expectations, just like most teachers have a visual of a daily schedule, so that kids can look and they know what's going to happen next. That's a whole, way to help students with transitions. So they know, okay, once writing's done, oh, good, it's lunchtime. So they know, okay, I just got to finish this sentence or whatever it is, and then we have lunch. So it really helps alleviate some angst with some of your students as well, so they can look and have some safety boundaries, knowing like, okay, this is what's happening next. Okay, this is what I need to do. Okay, just kind of get that little peace and safety in your classroom as well. So I love the
Absolutely.
visuals for sure.
Yeah. And it's just helps with multimodal learning. Some of us are more
Yeah,
visual, and that just
right.
helps reinforce. It's not going to hurt anybody else, so why not?
Exactly. And we've made visuals for some of our students just for their desk. like
Mm,
steps for their morning routine or their afternoon routine, so you as the teacher is not you're not constantly like, okay, we got to do this next, this is next, this is next. You could
absolutely.
also probably put that on the board, but maybe it's just a few students who need those, reminders. So even having some visuals on their desk, I think work really well too.
Absolutely. Never hurts.
No, I don't think you can have enough visuals, but that's just me. And Canva is amazing. I love Canva. You can create anything on Canva.
Yes, that has
There's my
helped me
plug.
more than once.
All right, Andrew, do you have any last thoughts on resetting, getting ready for the next year?
No,
What
just
else could we
commit to
do?
the reset,
Reset.
whatever it is. If it is going and taking a trip and getting away, and commit to that trip. Lean into it. If it
Yeah,
is, I'm going to take my 5, 10 minutes in the morning and sip my hot coffee, commit to it. The
yeah.
intentionality of it is what is like supreme in being able to offer you the most recovery. It's that intentional mindset.
I agree. Thank you so much again, Andrew, for being here, sharing your wise expertise with us.
My pleasure.
And we will see you guys next week. Okay, guys, so what are you going to work on for next year? Is it those stability gaps? Is it in the lessons for math or writing? Is it in those behavior expectations? Are you going to have them visible in your class this year? Do you have a toolkit ready to use that you know what you're going to do when those behaviors come up? What steps are you going to take? Are you going to write that email to your future self, like Andrew suggested, so that you have all of those thoughts already there and you can just go back and look at it at the time, right? You don't have to perseverate over it during the summer. So those are some great ideas, and I hope that you take action today, this week, soon in preparing for next year to be your best self. And again, be intentional on that reset, on the refresh, on the refuel, because you're going to get some amazing students next year. And I want to leave you with this thought is that August can be a launch pad instead of a scramble. So, all of this is to help you be ready so that you're ready to go instead of like, oh crap, like I can't remember what I did with this or where I wanted to do this or what. Make those notes now while it's still fresh in your mind. And like I said, your future self is going to thank you. And then in the show notes, we will have some of the resources that Andrew used for his research in this episode so that you can check it out as well. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. I truly appreciate your support. And if I have encouraged you, motivated you to continue to learn, to support your students, even better, to help them strive in your classroom, please leave a review, hit that subscribe button so that others can see they can learn and grow here as well. Thank you.